back, Justice Con, and we are Snyder's Amazons, and we're here with the original Amazon, Debbie Snyder.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being with us.
It's our pleasure.
Yeah, the one thing before we start, I just want to say is that you all have arranged such an amazing weekend. I think we were planning on being at Comic-Con this year, and with the pandemic and not being able to be there, it was really disappointing. And I don't know if I've ever seen like a non-corporate entity create such an event, that is fan driven. It's by the fans, for the fans, and it's really incredible. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Thank you. We appreciate
that. I love Danny. So let's start off.
Well, 1 second. I just want to let everyone who is watching know we have put together questions with Deb that she would like to answer, so we will not be pulling from the live chat.
So a lot of people in the live chat are saying hi, Debbie.
Hi.
There's lots of hearts too.
Okay, so let's start off with questions. Kat, you had the first one. Do you want to start?
Sure. My first question for you is, what advice would you give to the next generation of female leaders on how to empower oneself and other females?
I think that, listen, we need to lead by example. I think we start by, supporting other women and not tearing them down and not to be negative and dwell in negativity. I think that, supporting whether it's content, if you're a creator, female filmmakers, or whether it's supporting women business owners. I think it's all by leading by example. I also think the biggest thing we can do is, mentor someone, because I think actually seeing what is possible and the possibilities really help people to believe that they can be it.
I love it. Kissy agrees.
Yes.
That's my cat. She likes the answer.
I think that the whole the what you said about empowering each other instead of tearing each other down is so important these days, because it feels like especially online there's this whole thing where it's one even in the superhero genre, it's like you see one is better than the other. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way. You just empower each other. It's not about which one's more powerful. We just have to support each other.
And I feel like it's across the board, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like whether it's comics, like everyone used to ask us like, what DC or Marvel, and we're like, well, can't we have both? It's not an either or situation. And I think right now, especially in this country, there's so much negativity, and I think because there's an anonymity being online, that people can say whatever they want without there's not a face to it. So they would say things they wouldn't say if they were face to face to people. And I think just a little bit more kindness and support. And I also think that I think, the movement has proved it, that if you come together for a cause that you care about, regardless of what that is, you can make change. And you can do it, by being united. You can do it with positivity.
Yeah, no, it is true. Sorry, I got distracted by Kissy for a second.
Oh my God. Say hi.
Hi, Kissy.
That was spot on. Nash, do you want to carry on? You had a question.
Yeah, sure. Look, Debbie, I know that Hollywood attracts curiosity and fascination from all around the globe. And how do you feel working in this big industry amongst other big names. And what means to you to be this woman we can all here can look up to? It's a big thing.
It's kind of unimaginable. I grew up in New Jersey. My dad was an iron worker, and my mom stayed at home with us until we were of school age, and then she worked as an office manager at a few different companies. I was really the first person in my immediate family to go to college. So to me, Hollywood always seemed so far away. I didn't know anyone here or anything. But we were close to New York City. We were like an hour ride on the train. And I remember my friend's dad worked in advertising. And I was fascinated by, at the time, right now, the commercial industry has changed so much. But like television commercials were really at the forefront. There were huge directors working in commercials, and to tell these little stories, and they were spending a lot of money on these ads. So it was something that, when I went to school, I was interested in doing, and had an internship working in New York at one of the big ad agencies. And then I remember I graduated, and they're like, well, you need to take the typing test. And I couldn't type to save my life, right? So I remember I failed the typing test, and they're like, well, you can't even get a job as an assistant. And I was like, but I have a college degree in, film and video production. And they're like, yeah, but you got to know how to type. So I remember we were on a family vacation. I brought a typewriter at the time, and I was like typing and practicing typing. And I kind of got my first break because I went to the interview, and the human resources person had another meeting. So I failed my typing test, but they let me go meet the head of production anyhow. So I met the head of production, and I got the job, and I was working an assistant for 5 producers. But still, like, Hollywood seems so far away to me. And even, I met Zack working on a soft and dry deodorant commercial, and in New Zealand. And it just so happens that he got his first feature, Dawn of the Dead. It's the only feature I didn't officially work on with him, although it was in Toronto, so it brought him to the East Coast. So we started dating, and then later got engaged. And when I came out to California, I still didn't think I was going to work in the movie industry. I thought I would freelance in advertising because that's what I knew. But what I came to realize is a lot of the skills that I learned, working in ads and pitching ideas, because a lot of it is being able to express an idea and to sell an idea in. And, as a producer in commercials, it's almost like you're making these little mini movies. It's all the same steps, just at a much larger scale. So I still really didn't think that, like, the movie industry was in my future, but Zack really wanted to get 300 made. And we had these amazing producing partners, but our advantage, I think, coming from advertising is we knew how to pitch and to sell. And we were constantly doing that, whether it was the brand you were selling or whether you were trying to sell your idea of whatever your commercial was or anything. So we came up with this huge pitch that had maquettes of what the characters would look like, and it had a big art book, and we sold it, and I got to be an executive producer on that movie. And then as we were making it, Warner Brothers said, we really like this process working with you. Do you guys want to come on the lot? And I remember walking into our space on the lot for the first time, and I was like, I can't believe this. Like, how did this girl from New Jersey, end up here and then go on to make these movies that people see around the world? Like, it was, it's kind of mind-boggling. And then when I remember when we were doing Sucker Punch, because it was an original idea that we really developed, I remember standing on that set feeling the same thing. And like, do you believe this was in your head, that this came from nothing? And like, so I guess my point is that I still can't believe it half the time. And I think still each project, whether it's, bringing Wonder Woman to the screen for the first time, or whether it's like, I'm still in awe, and I can't really believe that we get to do what we get to do. But I think my bigger point is it doesn't matter. You don't have to have connections if you have tenacity, if you work hard, you know, like Hollywood was so far away, but I really loved producing and I loved what I did. And I took any job. You know, I always say to, even when we hire assistants, I've done all those jobs. I was a receptionist. I worked for 5 producers. I got their dry cleaning, their like, there's not I worked my way up. I didn't, you know, and I can appreciate that. And, you know, I believe that you can do whatever you set your mind to it, like you can do it. And don't, you know, there are a lot of people that have said no, 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 and you can't just take no for an answer.
Inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
I remember before when we spoke about doing this panel, you told us something that in connection to this, that you do actually, when you and Zack work on a movie, you said that you bring women in to bring more women in the industry. Would you tell us more about that? Because I found that really interesting and awesome.
Yeah, you know, when we were, one woman I really admire is Gina Davis. She's an amazing actor, but for those that don't know, she has the Institute on Gender and Media, and they do a lot of research, but on gender in media, behind the camera, in front of the camera, like just a ton of research. But what they also do is they host these See Jane salons. And her saying is, if she can see it, she can be it. And I got a chance, I had known the work she was doing. And then when we were doing work on Wonder Woman, I got a chance to be part of one of the salons and we did some work with the movie. But I always, the philosophy that if it's not in front of you, if you're not seeing it, whether it's, and I think a lot of times when we talk about like gender, we talk about what we can see on screen, whether it's the actress or the director, because they're more visible. What's the content of the script? But for me, it's about also just importantly, who's behind the camera, and making sure that we have parity behind the camera, which is, you know, we have a long way to go with that. So to that extent, I always felt like if we could bring these young women, and not women who are in a film school, because they're already getting exposed to, like, here's the different crew members, but high school women sometimes will go to young women who are on social programs with the government, and we'll bring them in to show them, and we've done it a variety of ways. So when we were shooting in England for Justice League, I had 2 young women that worked with me for 5 weeks each. And what they would do is they'd spend a week with me, and then they'd pick other departments, whether it was stunts or the AD department or production, and they'd spend a week with each department to see exactly what these people do. And then we had them for other departments that they hadn't met, they would get to spend time with them. Patty also did it when she was doing Wonder Woman. And then, like, I've also hosted groups of diverse, whether not just females, but like I'd always do one strictly female day where I'd have people come in and kids, and they'd get to meet with all the departments. They'd get to see the shoot. We try and get them to come in a couple times while we were shooting, but always just showing people that there's opportunities out there you might not even know, you know, and we tend to have a lot of women on our sets. Our AD is a female who we've been working since Washman, Misha Burkowski. You know, we've worked with women stunt coordinators. Like, these positions, there are not a lot of women working at that high level. There's just not. Our best boy on our past couple movies is a woman, you know, so I would love to see more women in the technical, like behind the camera, in the camera department. But I think that people don't know that there are that there is this opportunity. And I think really that's, I don't feel like I really had a mentor. There have been people that impacted me as my career grew and that I took advice from. But I feel like I'm trying to change that. The Academy has a really great program that I was a part of this year, where I had a young woman I worked with her the whole year. It's been really hard, but maybe more important to have that connection during COVID, because her movie, she's, just graduated college, just got shut down. So again, I think it's important for as women to be supporting other women and supporting them in whatever, they want to do.
That's amazing and so important what you do. It's like, that's just fantastic.
I have a question. As a woman in the film industry, when you walk onto a set, what's the most important thing you look for?
I mean, I would like to see diversity. That's really important. And I think, as a producer, I'm always pushing for that, like who we're hiring. But I think the other thing that is really most important is to create, like, we're creating something out of nothing sometimes, right? And you're hiring all these really talented people in their field, and I feel like creating a work environment that can be collaborative and that's safe, so the creative process can blossom, is really important. I think sometimes there's egos that get involved, and I think you're only as good as the people that are around you. So, I think we always try and surround ourselves with people that are better than us. and listen, a lot of our crew are the same crew that we've worked with from like they span 10 years. And some of them are, I know you guys had Clay and Christine, Clay is like one of my dearest friends that from college. I know Zack, Larry Fong, he went to college with, like a lot of the people that we've worked with. And I think when we were in school, we would be like, wouldn't it be cool if someday we could all do this together? And like the fact that we get to do it is amazing. And, for us, there's not really, you're spending so much time with the people you're on set with that you really want to like them as, as well. And you want, I find, I always say we're like a traveling circus, and a lot of our friends have kids. So when, you're on the road, sometimes we were in England for a year, it's nice when you have these relationships because they become your family. And that to us is really important. And I think it also translates to the screen. I think when people can trust and they're not afraid to take chances. And, I think that's what you want. You want people to be bold, and you want them to be at their A game, but they have to feel safe to do that.
I think that's I think that's a great way to put it. Yeah. And I mean, it's not just, it's not just for women. It's
for
in
everyone,
general.
yeah.
You want to,
Yeah.
Danny, do you want to carry on?
The one thing I will say is I don't necessarily want to be working just with women. Like,
Right.
I want there to be a balance, because I feel like I'd like to see more women, because a lot of the times, even at the higher level department heads, most of the time, there's like another woman and me, it's like on the studio side or whatever. And hold on, Zach's thing came up. It's not an iPad. I keep touching the screen. I think that the balance of having, I don't necessarily want to work with just women. I think we all have something different and creative. I just want there to be more of a balance than there is.
And it's just wonderful that you put yourself out there and trying to create that balance.
Thank you.
And I think Nana said Danny has the next.
Yeah, Danny's been so quiet.
Paying attention, girls. So I was researching, preparing for this panel, and I found Wonder Woman's creator, Dr. Marston, and he was really a feminist in all his work. And I found a quote from him that it was really interesting. And he said that Wonder Woman was sort of a psychological exercise for the woman that he thought should rule the world. what was your first thought when you heard that a character like Wonder Woman was gonna step into the modern world?
Well, when we were doing Batman v Superman, Zack, he was always, we started out with a Superman sequel and added Batman, and then it became Batman v Superman. And he said, you know what would be really exciting to me is to actually see the Trinity on the screen for the first time. Mm-hmm. So in that way, we were bringing Wonder Woman to the screen for the first time. I think why she's such an enduring character is because her values are so, it is about justice and it's about fighting for what is right. And I think those are things like in today's world that are very relatable. I think these characters, their mythology, has allowed them, and they've changed. If you look at the history of Wonder Woman, through the time, she's kind of reflected back at us. And I think that's what these characters do, who we are at the time, and they change and evolve. So I think that's what keeps them going. But to me, who grew up watching Linda Carter, like and knowing that we were going to get to do this was so exciting, and also felt like a really big responsibility too, because so many people, women, men, everybody, like she's so beloved by everyone, and it doesn't, it's not just, she's not a character just for women or just for men or just for little girls, or she appeals to such a broad audience. Finding her and casting Gal was also, I think, really just such a process, and it was a worldwide search that we did to find her. But it was equally important that whoever played the actor embodied some of those same characteristics, because I think for kids, like my kids, they are like, hey, are you working with Batman today? Or am I going to get to see Wonder Woman? And they'll know that her name is Gal, but she's still Wonder Woman. She's not an actor. And I think, like, for us, we acknowledge the fact that for parts of our audience, there's not a separation between the character and the actor. They're kind of the same person. So it made it, I think, the casting decision even more critical in who we chose and who this person was. And after an extensive search, we tested, I think, four women, and Gal was clearly our Wonder Woman, and the people working in the studio, whether it was wardrobe or stunts, because she met a lot of people, all were just like, she's so kind, she's so that, like, everyone was so enamored by who she was as a person. And then on film, I mean, we all know she has that magical, that thing that's undescribable that, like, she just embodies. But I don't know. I mean, to go back, I know I rambled on a little bit, but to go back, I think
go on.
It was an enormous responsibility. And I remember the first time she came out in her full costume, I cried. Because I couldn't believe it was a moment. And also there was a couple people from the crew brought their kids, and this one little girl had drawn her a picture, and she was so kind to her. And it was, they had been trying to make this Wonder Woman movie for so long, and there was fits and starts, and to be a part of this historical moment, but to actually see her, it was very emotional. And I think a lot of people got, like, teary-eyed on set that day.
I mean, we did.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, yeah, when we saw the first, like, just being in the cinema and seeing, her appear as Wonder Woman for the first time, it was just, I mean, we had a question from a friend recently, and it was like, what's your favorite scene from, Zack's DCEU? And this was like the first thing that just came up to your mind is just seeing her for the first time, because it just meant so much at the time. I actually do have a follow-up question to this when we were at that. Do you feel like you had, impact or influence on Zack regarding, portrayal of women in his movies?
Well, I think I do. I think Zack is, I mean, I'm a little biased since he's my husband as well as my producing partner and director, but he loves powerful women. And I think he's always like really conscious about surrounding himself by powerful women, whether it's behind the camera on set or also whenever he's writing, like Gorgo was, I think, like a couple frames. It might have even been like 2 or 3 frames in Frank Miller's graphic novel. And she had her own storyline. And we talked a lot about how, it was just as important, like that they were equals. Even when we talked about Lois, like we talked about, it can't be just Superman rescuing Lois. She's rescuing him in so many ways and teaching him about humanity. And I just think his natural, inclination is to go with the strong female character or, to hire the female department head, even if it's in departments that traditionally were male. Like, I think he sees that that's really important. And I'm a little opinionated, so I think I definitely, I mean, because we're married and we work together, it's almost like you don't turn it off, like, and because he's a creator and he writes, or even if it's something that we haven't written that we're in the middle of production, even if we're going out to dinner, it's hard not to talk about it because, there's a passion when you're doing this, I think. And, we kind of live it and breathe it. And, I think we're lucky to be able to do this together, because I think like when, it's hard, it's hard on marriages, when you're off for a year or 6 months. And the fact that, and if your spouse comes, like they're living a different life than you're living on set 14 hours a day if you're shooting. So it makes it really difficult. So for us to have that, like, we get to do it together, and we get, and when it's hard, we go through it together and we can support each other. And when it's victorious, we can celebrate together. But like, I feel like it would be, when we're in production, like, I understand the stresses of his day. And we're not together all the time because our jobs are very different, and I deal a lot with the studio and with the marketing and with, dealing with various other issues. And he's dealing, especially now that he's the director of photography, he's dealing with the technical end, or so sometimes we won't see each other the whole day, but we know what we're doing is for this common, like, we have the same goal. And we also protect each other because there's no ulterior, our ulterior motives are the same, when you get other people, coming in, outside producers, because a lot of times you have producing partners, and we've worked with amazing partners. We're lucky, but, everyone's motivation is not the same. So for us, it's much purer, but you do take it home.
You guys make an incredible team.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really do. That's like,
Definitely.
I feel blessed, and I feel like we make each other better,
Yeah.
And I feel like even if we don't always agree on things, but we don't always agree, but we will always be in agreement when we're presenting it. Even though, we will come to a decision of where we're going to be, and we always have a united front. So I think that is clear. And also, it's my job as a producer to get his vision on screen. So if there is matters of creative, it's my job to tell him if I don't think it's right, but ultimately it's my job to support the ultimate decision. So I think when those, like, when it's very clear, those roles, it doesn't become personal, and it becomes just much more supportive.
Yeah.
That's great.
I want to have a dream team like that. Well, we have more questions. Can carry on. Kat or Danny, any of you wants to take over?
Kat, you'll have to unmute your mic if you want to ask another question.
Nana.
In the meantime, I'm gonna make my question. There are several moments related to motherhood in the DCEU. Is there one particular scene that moved you more personally?
Yes, there's two. Two that I like that are like at the top of my list. You know, I think when Diane in Man of Steel, when the young Clark is he locks himself in the closet because he's so overwhelmed by the world around him, and she comes to the school and they're, you know, and he's in the closet and she, you know, very gently, you know, talks him down, and you could tell like she's so worried herself, but yet she knows that she has to like step up and she has to be there and be nurturing and make, you know, make him feel better and make him feel okay and make him feel safe. And I love that, because, you know, a lot of times we might be almost paralyzed with fear, but we have to move forward and be strong. And I think that, to me, that's what that scene does. And that's definitely, I think, my favorite scene. There's also a scene that I can't really talk about it that much because I want you to see it, but there is an amazing scene that was not in the theatrical release. I don't know why, because it's when Diane comes to visit Lois after Clark's death, and she's been, you know, not going out, and it's just this also very supportive scene, because even though she's lost her house, she's coming there, you know, to help, not to ask for help, but to help Lois. And I really like that. You'll get to see that scene.
Can't wait, because
awesome.
I mean,
Yes.
we've seen the reshot scene, and we didn't like that one very much.
And I just want to say about that that scene where Clark was in the closet and he was being talked down with a panic attack. Like, I have panic attacks, and that's something that ever since I saw that scene, I talk myself through that exact moment. Like,
Yeah.
like, because when your anxiety is taking over, like, you suddenly feel like the world is too big, and I just keep replaying Mama Kent in my head, like, make it small, and it really helps. It's wonderful.
And I think the panic that she's facing, like, she's afraid herself, right? And she's afraid, like, you know, as a mom, like, my kid's well-being is like nothing else matters, right? And she doesn't know how to help him, and she's panicked about it, but yet has to be so calm and calm him. And I think that's the beauty of it. What about you guys? What's your favorite scenes?
Oh my God.
Wonder Woman entrance, of course.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Well, I have several, but I think Lara's goodbye to her child, to her baby. That
one's so heartbreaking, but yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, I can't imagine, you know, the feeling of doing that. I mean, I'm not a mom, so I can't imagine it for that reason, but also it's just because this whole concept of, you know, she just had the baby and giving him up, it just like, I can't imagine being in that position. I really can't. So it was really, really powerful moment to just like watch.
Yeah.
And the score, like when she goes out and she's looking at everything exploding, you know, and the whole world is like, and you see the ship, right? And the score, the Han score under that part. By the way, also the Han score when Wonder Woman's entrance.
Oh my gosh.
You know, I think adds so much to these moments.
Yeah.
There's just something so powerful about seeing her, and that there's all these explosions, and she just lost everything practically, but she's just standing there, and she's proud and tall, and she's just facing it all. Like, what else can she do in that situation? There's something really empowering about that to me. Just to see that particular scene where really she's facing, you know, Krypton exploding right in front of her. There's just something really, really powerful about that. To me, anyway.
I agree totally.
And then pretty much every scene with Lois is just so empowering as well. She's a hero in herself too, and I just love her so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love go on.
No,
I really like that scene from Man of Steel, the ending scene. It's so powerful when Clark is telling his mother about his new work. He's so excited, and you can see the interaction between them. It's so heartwarming. It's amazing. I love that. I love the action scenes, but these sweet ones are my favorites.
Well, I think to me, to the moment where she comes down in the train station and she knows this, like, this moment that he had to make, he chose humanity, he made this choice, and he is so distraught, and he is kneeling, and she comes up and he puts his head on her stomach, and that moment to me too is such a powerful, you know, moment of her, you know, comforting him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Love it.
I mean, I love how Lois in particular, the thing about her that always spoke to me is just she's in this world, you know, she's thrown in this world of people who are more powerful than her, like physically anyway, but she's just not scared of that at all. She just walks in the room and she owns it, and I find that so powerful and so inspiring. I was like, I want to have that power. I just want to be like this. Like it just takes a certain type of person to just be like this, and she has that, and the portrayal is just so good. Like her portrayal is so good. And I mean, we've done podcasts on this and we spoke on this before, you know, and literally picked it apart, just how much this means to us, because it's really rare to see, you know, women in such position in the movies. I don't think people realize it as much, because especially if they don't look for it, but for us as girls, you know, watching it's just like, okay, she's badass, she's inspiring, I want to be like her. And it's just really important to see. So I mean, that's
I have another question here. What is the best advice you could give a young woman looking to get into filmmaking?
I think right now we're at a place and there's a platform of online that we never had before, that I didn't have before. You can make something beautiful on your phone. I think tell your story, do it. You don't need the fanciest camera. You don't, like, if you have a voice and you have a story to tell your story and you can get it out there. And I think that's what's so amazing, that, you know, it used to be, oh, you had to be in film school. There are these big, you know, editing rooms that you needed. And now if you have a computer and literally a phone, and we've seen, you know, Zack shot a beautiful piece on his phone that looked just as good as if it would be on film or a red camera. You know, you can do it. So don't think that there are all these reasons why you can't do it. You know, I think just do it and tell your story.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Kat, do you have another question you'd like to ask?
I do. What female in real life and or fictional character inspires you the most, and why?
Okay, well, I have to say RGB.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think the reasons for me is because, you know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you know, leaned very far to the left, but I think she realized that in order to get things done on the Supreme Court, she had to be more moderate. And I think for me, the fact that she was such good friends with Justice Scalia, who had very opposing viewpoints on a lot of things than she did, but yet they had this friendship. And I think what, that shows me is that you can find common ground. And I think, like, especially now, our country's so divided. I think we need to kind of come together and come more in the middle to come up with solutions. And I think if I look at her examples of how she's done that in her life, and actually got things done, to me, it's just so inspiring. And, and not to mention, she's like doing her job and battling cancer and like, still trying to work out, and like she's has so much pep, and there's just so many reasons why she's the one that, I think she's amazing.
She really is.
Danny, do you have another
Yes.
question? Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's not like a question, but I just wanted to say thank you for this conversation. Was really important for us, since we all, with the girls, we got together precisely as women, talking about Mr. Snyder's movies, talking about how amazing they are when it comes to female characters. So thank you for sharing this moment with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us. And, the one last thing I just want to say is that, the past couple of years have been very difficult for us on a personal level as well as a professional level. And some days when just seeing how many people were touched by the films we make, and how it touched them in such a personal way, and made them, in some instances, overcome something, really brought us a lot during those difficult times. And we're just, we're moved and appreciate everything that the fans and the movement have done for us. So thank you.
We love you.
Yeah, we love you.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have been such an inspiration to us. It's we told this to Ray yesterday, and we told Zack multiple times, and I think it's this was always a two-way street. It's you guys have been inspiration to us, and we just tried to do the best to support you, as fans. And I mean, there's only so much fans can do, but it was always a two-way street. You guys have always been so generous and so kind with fans, and the fact that you are here right now, that both you and Zack agreed to come on and talk to us, it's just, it's not something that anybody would just do, and we genuinely appreciate it. And it just makes us, I don't want to say fight more, but it really works like that. You want to kind of pay forward what you get, and you guys have been just amazing, and we really, really appreciate it.
Well, it's also quite historical. Like I said, I cannot believe, like, I feel like they're going to study this whole thing in film school, like the power. I mean, the power of and that's what I mean. Like, if people come together and look at, I mean, and the goal of getting the Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League film, to be able to come out is one thing, but also just, I don't know, it's the end goal is, yes, very important, but to us, like, seeing the money that was raised for mental health and suicide prevention, and just the positivity of coming together is almost more important, from our perspective, than anything else. Not to say that we don't appreciate the end goal, because we're like, excited we get to do this. But I think it's just seeing it, watching it. Like every time it kept getting bigger and escalating, and it was just super surprising. And we were like, oh my goodness. And the fruit bat, like, I mean, even when we had our meeting with Ann Cernoff and the team, you know, they were like, do you know how many fruit baskets she has gotten? And then the airplane came and we were like, what is next? Like, you know, all the things, you know, made an impact. So, and it was just amazing. It just was amazing and also just unprecedented, you know, like as we watched it, it just was like, it just was crazy, but it did make us smile. So we were watching all of it.
Oh.
Well, I think that, you know, that's just gonna make it. I think the whole story behind the movie, when you guys put it out, you know, next year and all that, the whole story just makes it all the more special in a way.
Yeah, and in a way, this is the best case scenario for everybody, because, you know, you can only do so much in a theatrical release, right? And at the time, the streaming services really weren't a discussion, especially for, you know, a DC property. So the fact that we get to see this longer version, and it's almost like you think about it differently, because to me, like, it becomes a character study. Because I think when it's like, okay, it's this theatrical movie and it's a movie about a team getting together, everyone's like, when does the team get together? By X amount of minutes. This is what the studio will always say to you, because we have a lot of team movies. X amount of minutes, the team should be together. But like for us, it's about building the team, but seeing who these characters are, and they each have arcs and they each have motivations. And if you can't spend the time developing the characters and who they are and where they've come from, you don't necessarily understand what it means when they come together. And I think, you know, having it on HBO Max and having it doesn't have to be a certain length. You're not waiting for the next, you know, the ticket sales of the next movie, and you can only have so many showings because it's too long. I also think people are used to, when you watch something, you know, when you're watching your Netflix or on HBO Max or Disney Plus, like the expectation is different. You're not waiting for, like, you want it to, like, the slow burn is okay. And there's much more character development happening, I think, when you look at what's being done on the streaming platforms. So in a way, you know, I think it's the best time for this. And it's, you know, to me, it's really exciting. And I think I really hope the fans like it. I mean, all we can do is put out, you know, what Zack thinks, what his vision was. But I do think that it satisfies a lot more. And, you know, for me, when I look at it, because like he had done this and we kept it for ourselves, and we never thought it would see the light of day. And I remember watching it, because then it was also raw too. So, but I remember watching it like at the end of summer last year, having not like really seen it, and we just watched it with a couple of our friends, and it's so just different. It's such a different experience, and you just feel more for the characters. And I think that's what we all want to do. We love these characters, and we don't want to cheat them out of their backstories and you know, their arcs, you know, and I feel like we're going to get to see that. So I hope that people really can appreciate it. I know I do. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's any doubt that people will enjoy it. I feel like everyone's been waiting for this for so long that when we finally get to sit down with our loved ones and watch it, it's just going to make it even more special.
Yeah. We can see how much they care about this character.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see it.
Debbie, I have one more question. Regarding the DCEU. I mean, you guys have producing several movies in this universe. As a film producer, how do you align different visions from different directors into something not particularly equal, but that makes some kind of sense anyhow?
Listen, I think because we are a director driven company, like
Yeah.
it's important to respect the director's vision. That's that's where we just initially come at it from. And I think when we work, I mean, listen, predominantly we're working, we're doing stuff that Zack's doing, but when we worked with, Patty, when we worked with, we have something coming up with which I can't tell you, but we will tell you soon, with another director. And I think like, even when we did the sequel to 300, like it's important to see what that director's point of view is, and to try and, sometimes you're fitting it in a franchise. So there's certain things that have to just work, so it doesn't seem like it's completely, crazy. But other times, and I think what the DCEU has done is they're like owning it, that we have all these great directors that have different visions, and they want to show this version of the character. It's why I think it's exciting to me, because everything doesn't also have to be the same, and they can have television doing something different. They can, have Todd Phillips have his Joker movie.
Yeah.
We're super excited. We're big fans of Matt Reeves, so I cannot wait to see what he does with Batman. We love Rob Pattinson too. So I think it's refreshing, because I don't think people want the same old, and I don't think people want things made from a committee. I think you want, a director, their biggest asset is their point of view. It's what they bring to it. And I think supporting that, and I think is exciting, because you will get different ideas. It's like, I'm kind of tired of regurgitating all the same ideas and the remakes of the this that came out and was successful. I'd much prefer a fresh take on things. And I think that each individual director, if they're allowed to do that, to me, that's much more exciting than seeing everything that has to feel cookie cutter.
Right.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
I mean, there is nothing else to say to that. I mean,
like everything.
Yeah.
Like that's what makes the DCEU so wonderful, is that everybody can bring their own interpretation to it, and we're not trying to manufacture the same exact movie over and over again.
No, and it's like you don't know what to expect, and that's kind of refreshing, right?
I have one more question. What's something you wish you were told about being a producer when you first were starting out in the film industry?
I think the thing that I didn't realize, and I didn't realize it even up until recently, is how powerful storytelling is, and how it transcends, so many things. And that these movies, I always knew, yes, the movies live on, but the fact that these stories could touch people in so many ways, and maybe had I thought about that more, it might, you could be a little paralyzed by that, but I think just realize the importance of what you're doing and what you're saying, can mean something to someone. And it can, not just, when you're watching, because I think, listen, crying or laughing or feeling something, making you feel something while you're watching something is important, but to have whatever you saw have an impact on your life later on, that touches you in a way, I didn't realize how powerful it was. And I think just almost in the past 2 years, we would make the movies. We didn't have much interaction with our audience, and being able to see, and we've gotten videos and on these very personal stories. And I said to Zack one day, because some of his films, are divisive, and I always say that's okay, because I'd rather than you watch something and go, hey, let's go get a pizza, and then you don't talk about it. I think a lot of the things he does are challenging, and there's multi-layers, and they, you know, sometimes they make you feel uncomfortable, or, you know, I know some people didn't like that maybe, you know, we deconstructed some of the characters, but I mean, we always felt like we love them so much, we got to get them to the place that we all know them, and it needs to be this journey, very, you know, like Joseph Campbell, we talk about a lot, like with these characters, this hero's journey. It's kind of boring if they start here and they end here.
Yeah.
Like, we wanted them to do something, and we wanted them to be relatable. Because even though we don't have these superpowers, if we can relate to their struggles, I just think you care about them more. And it's with love that we've always, you know, done this. And also with the notion that when we get to Justice League, and I think that's why it's so important to kind of finish this up for us, that you get them to this level that they're together, that they become this family, that they've gone on these journeys, even if they're separate journeys. But I just, that power of storytelling and great storytelling, to me, I don't think I truly, really understood what that meant, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm starting to now.
Well, I think I can speak for all of us when I say that we are super, super excited to see Justice League finally.
Yes.
And we are so happy for you guys. It's been a long time coming, and we're so happy for you guys. And we want to thank you so much for coming on. It really means a lot to us that you came in and talked to us about all this and gave us your insights. And I mean, you know, thanks to you and thanks to Zack as well. Like, you guys have done, you know, even for this event alone, you guys have done so much. So thank you so much for coming. And really, we are honored to have you.
Well, thank you so much for your support. And you guys have still a full day. What's coming? What's next?
We have a diversity panel, and then we have the artists the poster winners. And then we're going to be talking to Sean O'Connell, the book author.
Oh, that's great.
And
by the way, the art, the posters, the amount of time that people spent making, like, posters that, like, rival, like, what, you know, marketing departments do. The art has been amazing.
Really has.
You know, just, I couldn't believe how many, when the poster contest, how many submissions there were. It was pretty incredible.
Just a testament to how you guys inspire people.
Seriously, yes.
Thank you very much. You're very inspirational too. So, and thank you again for organizing. I cannot believe what a big, robust weekend for Justice Con. So thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.